Listen to me right now. You're grinding, you're pushing, you're staying up late, you're hustling, and that's great, that's powerful, but let me tell you something most people won't. Sometimes the next level doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing less. You're thinking, how in the world do I get more by relaxing? Let me break it down for you. You don't grow a tree by pulling on its leaves every day. You water it, you give it light, and you let it grow. Some of you out here are chasing so hard, you're burning out the engine before you even hit the freeway. You're working, yes, but you're working from anxiety, not alignment, from fear, not faith, from panic, not purpose. And that's why you feel like no matter how hard you go, you're not getting there. You can't receive with clenched fists. You want more. Open your hands, open your mind, relax, because when your spirit is calm, you can hear the strategy. When your mind is at peace, you get the downloads, the vision becomes clearer, the right people show up, but when you're desperate, life will treat you like you're desperate. The opportunities will avoid you. Clarity will escape you. Success doesn't chase noise, it follows silence. You gotta learn to trust. You gotta learn to breathe. You gotta learn to rest, not quit. There's a difference between laziness and strategic rest. Rest with intention, relax with belief, because when your energy is aligned, when your soul is calm, you move with precision, you speak with power, you act with boldness. Let me tell you what I learned the hard way. You can't outrun your peace. You can't hustle your way to wholeness. You don't get everything by forcing. You get everything by becoming. Become the person who doesn't need to stress over every step. Become the person who's so grounded that doors open just because your presence shifts the room. So breathe, relax, focus. You're not falling behind, you're aligning. You're not being lazy, you're listening. And in that silence, in that calm, in that stillness, you'll find everything you've been chasing. Now go get it, not by force, but by faith. Not by panic, but by peace. Relax. To receive everything, let's go. Fire peace amplifies power, not pressure. This simple truth is one that many people overlook in the rush of modern life. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with noise, notifications, schedules, deadlines, the pressure to perform, the fear of missing out, the comparison with others who seem to be moving faster, achieving more, becoming more. In the midst of all this, we internalize a toxic belief that only pressure produces power, that the more we push, the more we stress, the more we force, the more powerful we become. But that belief is a lie. True power, sustainable, focused, creative, and transformational power, doesn't come from pressure, it comes from peace. When you operate from a place of peace, you are not reactive, you are responsive. You are centered, you are not being pushed around by every thought, every fear, every demand. You're steady, you are anchored. That's when your decisions are sharp, that's when your instincts are clear. That's when your intuition speaks loudly and guides you rightly. That's when you're not just busy, you're effective. There's a big difference between motion and progress. Pressure can create motion, but only peace creates direction. You've seen this in athletes, the greatest ones. They play with calm. Their heart rate slows down in high pressure moments. That's why they make the clutch plays. That's why they see the court or the field with precision others miss. They've trained to find peace in chaos, and because of that peace, they activate power. They don't let the moment overwhelm them. They master the moment by being grounded in themselves. This same principle applies in business, in relationships, in personal growth. When you are in a peaceful state, your brain works differently. Scientifically, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for critical thinking, planning, and decision-making, functions best when you are calm. But when you are under constant pressure, your brain shifts into survival mode. You get tunnel vision, you make impulsive decisions, you chase short-term relief instead of long-term solutions. You grind just to grind, forgetting why you started in the first place. You might look productive on the outside, but internally you're crumbling. That's not power. That's panic in disguise. Think about the best ideas you've ever had. Did they come when you were frantic, rushing, overloaded, checking off to-do lists with a pounding heart? Or did they come when you were walking alone, driving in silence, showering, sitting quietly with your thoughts? Real ideas, world-changing ideas, rise in stillness. They bubble up when your mind isn't being hijacked by stress. And that stillness, that's peace. That's your internal power source. Without peace, you're just reacting to life. With peace, you're creating it. Pressure often leads to burnout. You can only run on adrenaline and cortisol for so long before your body and mind start breaking down. But peace regenerates, it heals, it restores your energy, it brings your nervous system back into balance. When you're at peace, your breathing slows, your heart rate steadies, your focus sharpens, you're no longer chasing everything. You're attracting the right things. You're not grinding for validation. You're moving from vision. You're not competing with everyone. You're locked in on your purpose. Some people believe that slowing down means falling behind. But here's the truth. If you're moving fast in the wrong direction, you're not getting ahead. You're just getting lost faster. Peace helps you re-center. It helps you ask the hard questions. Is this goal still aligned with my values? Am I doing this for impact or just applause? Am I trying to prove something, or am I trying to build something real? Without peace, you won't pause to reflect, and without reflection, you'll never adjust. And if you can't adjust, you can't evolve. Power rooted in pressure is unstable. It's loud, it's flashy, it's temporary, but power rooted in peace is unshakable. It doesn't need to yell to be heard. It doesn't need to impress to be respected. It just is. People feel it when you walk into the room. They notice the calm in your voice, the clarity in your eyes, the precision in your words. You move differently when you're at peace. You don't need to dominate others. You elevate them. You don't need to control outcomes. You trust the process. When you're under constant pressure, everything feels urgent. You rush into relationships. You jump into business deals. You say yes to things that don't serve you. You operate out of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of being forgotten, fear of being unworthy. Peace removes that fear. It tells you that you are already enough, that you don't have to do more to be more. That your value isn't in your productivity, it's in your presence. That's where your power lies. In who you are, not just what you do. You don't have to earn peace. It's not a reward. It's your starting point. It's your birthright, but you have to choose it. You have to protect it. You have to prioritize it. That means creating boundaries. That means learning to say no without guilt. That means unplugging even when the world demands you stay connected. That means taking care of your body, your mind, your spirit. That means learning to listen to yourself, to life, to what's truly calling you, because peace isn't passive. It's not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right things from the right energy. Peace is not weakness. Don't let the culture fool you. Loud doesn't mean strong. Busy doesn't mean successful. Stressed doesn't mean significant. Peace is strength under control. It's discipline disguised as stillness. It's knowing that your power doesn't need to prove itself every minute. It's trusting that what's meant for you can't be taken. That's real strength. That's what amplifies everything else in your life. When peace becomes your foundation, every action you take multiplies in impact. Your presence becomes more potent. Your time becomes more valuable. Your results become more aligned. You attract more when you're aligned, not anxious. This isn't just motivational talk, it's reality. When you're anxious, you're out of sync with your goals, your energy is scattered, your focus is fractured, and your decisions are reactionary. But when you're aligned, everything flows. You move with confidence, not confusion. You take action not out of desperation, but out of direction. You become a magnet for opportunity, not a chaser of validation. This difference is not subtle. It's the line between hustle that burns out and purpose that builds up. Anxiety tells you you're behind. It whispers that you're not doing enough, fast enough, big enough. It causes you to force timelines, ignore your instincts, and say yes to things that don't feel right. Anxiety makes you obsessed with comparison. You scroll through social media, not for inspiration, but for proof that you're failing. You see other people winning, and instead of being happy for them, you panic. You start asking, what am I doing wrong? But that question doesn't come from growth, it comes from fear. And when you're in fear, you can't hear your own voice. Alignment feels different. It's grounded. It's clear. It's not loud or frantic. It's steady. It's rooted in trust, not in a fantasy, but in who you are becoming. When you're aligned, you're not trying to be everything for everyone. You're focused on your lane. You're listening inward more than you're reacting outward. That's when you start making moves that feel right, not just look right. That's when your choices match your values. That's when your energy starts to return. That's when people notice something different in you because you're not just moving, you're moving with meaning. Anxiety makes you overthink every step. You plan, you doubt, you second, guess, and by the time you're ready to act, the moment's passed. And then what? More anxiety? It's a trap. It makes you believe you're preparing when really you're just procrastinating. Anxiety paralyzes action, but alignment empowers it. When you're aligned, you don't need everything to be perfect. You're not waiting for guarantees. You act from your core, from your clarity. You're not distracted by every shiny thing. You're locked in on what actually matters. You can feel the difference in your body. Anxiety drains you, you're tense, fatigued, your sleep suffers, your creativity shrinks, alignment energizes you, even when you're tired you feel purposeful, your body supports your mission, your nervous system calms down. You're no longer operating in survival mode, you're building, creating, expanding. You trust the process more. You're less attached to instant results because you know you're on the right path. You're not waiting for proof that it's working. Your alignment is the proof. When you're anxious, people can feel it. You could be saying all the right things, doing all the right things, but your energy is off. You're trying too hard. There's tension in your presence. There's a lack of authenticity. But when you're aligned, you don't have to push. You don't have to convince anyone. Your presence speaks before your words do. People trust you more. They're drawn to your clarity, your calm, your consistency. And not just people, opportunities come too. The right connections, the right timing, the right doors, because the universe doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to alignment. Alignment doesn't mean life is easy. It doesn't mean you never face obstacles. It means you know how to move through those obstacles without losing yourself. You don't spiral when things get hard. You don't default to panic. You reflect, you realign, and you adjust. You stay connected to your source, to your values, to your why. You're not derailed by every delay because you understand the journey is shaping you as much as the destination, and that understanding gives you power, the kind of power anxiety can never give. Anxious action is not the same as aligned action. Anxious action is reactive. It comes from fear. It's driven by scarcity. It says, if I don't do this now, I'll miss my shot. Aligned action is intentional. It comes from abundance. It says, what's mine will find me, and I'm becoming the kind of person who can handle it when it arrives. That mindset shift is everything because it transforms your energy. It transforms how you show up, and how you show up determines what you attract. When you're aligned, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. You're not chasing attention. You're not trying to outperform everyone to feel worthy. You know your worth, and that kind of confidence changes the game. It changes how you negotiate. It changes how you speak. It changes what you say yes to and what you walk away from. You stop begging for tables. You start building your own. That's alignment. That's where your real power lies. Anxiety is fueled by a need to control everything. Alignment thrives in surrender. That doesn't mean giving up, it means letting go of what's not yours to carry. You stop micromanaging life. You stop forcing outcomes. You do your part and trust the rest. That space between effort and trust is where miracles happen. That's where peace lives. That's where growth accelerates. Because you're no longer stuck in resistance, you're flowing in rhythm. It takes courage to choose alignment over anxiety, because anxiety can feel productive. It can trick you into thinking you're doing something just because you're doing something. But alignment requires discipline. It requires introspection. It asks you to pause, to reflect, to make uncomfortable decisions, to walk away from paths that don't fit, even when they look successful on the outside. To silence the noise and listen to your truth, and that's not easy, but it's worth it. Alignment asks you to trust your timing, to understand that delay is not denial, that rest is not weakness, that clarity often comes in quiet moments, not chaotic ones. It asks you to detach from outcomes and attach to purpose, because when your intention is pure, when your vision is clear, when your heart is in the right place, things will come. They may not come on your schedule, but they will come right on time. That's how alignment works. It sets the stage so the right things can enter without force. You don't have to be constantly anxious to be successful. You don't have to live in a state of urgency. You don't need to prove your worth through pressure. You attract what you are. So become aligned, become the version of you who already has peace, who already has purpose, who already has value. That version of you will make better decisions, build stronger relationships, create deeper impact. And as you walk in that energy, the world will meet you there. Strategic rest leads to sharper decisions. This is not just a feel good idea, it's a principle grounded in reality. Too often, we are taught to equate success with constant motion. We glorify the hustle, the grind, the all-nighters, and the never-stop mentality. But what we fail to recognize is that without rest, without intentional pause, our minds become cluttered, our thinking becomes cloudy, and our ability to make high-impact decisions erodes. It's not just about how hard you work, it's about how clearly you think. And clarity requires rest. Strategic rest is not laziness. It's not giving up. It's not falling behind. It's a discipline. It's a form of intelligence. It's the ability to know when to stop and allow your mind and body to recalibrate. Because when you are running on empty, you're not operating at your highest level. You may be getting things done, but not at the quality, efficiency, or creativity that you're truly capable of. Your intuition gets blocked. Your ability to assess risk gets skewed. You start making choices based on fatigue, not focus. Great leaders, elite athletes, world-class creators, they all understand the importance of rest. Not just sleep, but intentional detachment from the noise, time to reflect, time to gain perspective, time to step back so you can see the whole board, not just the next move. Strategic rest allows you to zoom out. It gives you the space to ask better questions. It opens the door for insight, for strategy, for deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities in front of you. When you don't rest, your brain gets stuck in survival mode. You become reactive instead of proactive. You're chasing tasks, putting out fires, constantly responding to what's urgent instead of focusing on what's important. That reactive energy leads to poor judgment. You miss details, you ignore red flags, you take shortcuts, you overcommit, you say yes to the wrong things because you're too tired to think clearly, and all of that adds up to consequences, some you feel immediately, some that sneak up over time. Rest sharpens your instincts, it restores your creative edge, it allows the subconscious mind to do what it does best, connect dots that your conscious mind is too overwhelmed to see. Some of your best ideas, your most effective strategies, will come after you've rested. You walk away from the problem for a while, and when you return, the answer is right there. That's not magic. That's the power of a rested, recovered mind doing what it was designed to do. There's a reason sleep is considered a performance tool. Research shows that even small amounts of sleep deprivation reduce cognitive performance, lower memory retention, and impair decision making, but strategic rest goes beyond just getting enough hours of sleep. It's about creating mental white space. That might look like stepping away from your work to walk in silence. It might mean unplugging from your devices for a few hours. It could mean a weekend where you don't talk business, don't solve problems, don't hustle. It's a reset mentally, emotionally, physically. The sharpest decisions are not made in a state of exhaustion. They're made when the mind is alert, the emotions are regulated, and the inner voice is clear. Rest helps you regulate your emotional state. When you're tired, you're more likely to react emotionally, to take things personally, to overthink small issues. Rest puts space between stimulus and response. It gives you a buffer. That buffer is what allows you to lead with wisdom instead of emotion, with logic instead of impulse. Strategic rest also strengthens confidence. When you're well rested, you trust yourself more. You're more decisive. You don't second guess every move. You know what you know. You remember why you started. You reconnect to your purpose. You feel grounded. That grounding is what produces powerful leadership, focused execution, and consistent progress. It's not about how many things you check off your list, it's about whether the things you're doing are actually moving you forward in the right direction. When you skip rest, you create a cycle of diminishing returns. You work harder and get less from it. You show up but not fully. You burn out your creativity. You dull your focus. You try to power through, but the results begin to slip. You start blaming yourself, pushing harder, thinking effort is the solution. But effort without clarity is just motion without meaning. Strategic rest breaks that cycle. It lets you reset the system. It brings back efficiency, focus, purpose. Rest is also where self-awareness is built. When you're always busy, you don't have time to reflect. You don't check in with yourself. You don't notice what's working and what's not. Strategic rest gives you the chance to audit your life, to ask, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to lean into? What habits are draining me? What environments are helping me grow? Without rest, you miss these questions. You just keep going even if it's in the wrong direction. Sometimes the reason you feel stuck is not because you're not capable, but because you're exhausted. Your mind is foggy, your body is tired, your soul is depleted, you've been giving without refilling, and now your internal compass is spinning. Strategic rest brings you back to center. It reminds you who you are. It helps you remember what you're here to do. It gives you strength not just to go harder, but to go smarter. Because sharper decisions aren't about doing more, they're about doing what matters most. Productivity isn't just about action, it's about precision, it's about alignment, it's about knowing where to focus your energy, and that awareness doesn't come when your system is overloaded, it comes in the pause. It comes when you step away from the noise. Strategic rest is not the opposite of ambition, it's the fuel for it. It's what keeps you going for the long haul. It's what protects your vision, your health, your peace. The world will keep spinning, the work will keep piling, the deadlines won't stop, but you have to decide whether your success will be driven by pressure or by wisdom, whether you will react out of burnout or respond out of clarity, whether your decisions will come from exhaustion or from excellence. Strategic rest gives you the chance to choose well, to lead well, to live well. Clarity comes in calm, not in chaos. When your world is loud, when your thoughts are racing, when your emotions are spiraling, that's not the space where clarity lives. That's confusion dressed up in motion. That's noise pretending to be progress. But clarity, real, grounded, deep clarity, it shows up when things get quiet, when you stop running, when you get still, when you finally sit with yourself and face the truth, because the truth doesn't yell. It whispers, and you can't hear that whisper in the middle of chaos. Some people live their whole lives in chaos and call it ambition. They think that if they're not overwhelmed, they're not doing enough. They've confused busyness with purpose. They've built identities on being exhausted. But the truth is, you can be moving fast and still be lost. You can be hitting goals and still be off track. You can be doing everything right and still be living someone else's dream. Because if you never pause long enough to ask yourself, is this really for me? Then chaos becomes your default. And when chaos is your default, you can't think straight, you can't see straight, and you can't lead yourself. Calm doesn't mean slow, it doesn't mean soft, it means centered, it means composed, it means grounded in something deeper than the pressure of the moment, because when you're calm, you're not chasing everything that moves. You're not reacting to every opinion, every challenge, every distraction. You're locked in, you're clear, you're strategic, you know what matters and you know what doesn't, you know what's urgent and you know what's noise. You know where to place your energy and you know when to hold back. That's real power, not how loud you are, not how hard you grind, but how clearly you can see. In chaos, every problem feels like a crisis. You blow up small issues, you spiral in your head, you make decisions out of emotion instead of evaluation, you let fear set your direction, but when you're calm, you create space between stimulus and response. You don't just react, you process. You don't just respond, you lead. Calm lets you zoom out. It lets you look at the big picture. It gives you the clarity to say, wait, this isn't worth my energy. This isn't my fight. This isn't aligned with my purpose. That's how you conserve power. That's how you move smarter, not just harder. When your mind is calm, you can hear the voice that matters most, your own. Not the opinions, not the comparisons, not the doubts, your voice, and that voice knows. It always knows, but you drown it out with chaos. You drown it out with constant motion, endless scrolling, non-stop doing. You fill every second with stimulation and wonder why you're stuck. You don't need another podcast, another meeting, another plan. You need a pause. You need stillness. You need silence, because clarity doesn't compete with noise. It waits. It waits for you to get quiet enough to listen. People think calm is a result, but it's actually a choice. You have to choose to step out of the storm. You have to choose to slow down when everything says speed up. You have to choose to protect your peace like your future depends on it, because it does. You can't build something sustainable in chaos. You can't love fully, lead fully, or live fully when your nervous system is always in survival mode. Calm is not a luxury, it's a leadership skill, it's a life strategy. It's what allows you to make decisions that age well. Decisions you don't regret, decisions that align with your values, not just your emotions. Clarity requires space, mental space, emotional space, creative space. That's why the best ideas come in the shower, on walks, during quiet mornings, not during frantic multitasking. Your brain needs room to breathe. Your soul needs silence to speak. You've been asking for answers, but you're not creating the conditions for those answers to come. You keep praying for direction, but you're too distracted to receive it. The answers are not hiding, you're just not still enough to see them. Chaos is addictive. It makes you feel important. It keeps you feeling needed. It tricks you into thinking you're progressing. But chaos without direction is just destruction. You're burning energy, but not building anything real. You're draining your peace for the sake of productivity that doesn't even feed your soul. Calm gives you the discipline to say no, to walk away, to wait, to evaluate, to create from a place of fullness, not fear, to lead with intention instead of insecurity. When you're calm, you don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you build. You don't try to force timing, you align with it. You can sit in the unknown without panicking. You can navigate uncertainty with vision. You don't need immediate clarity because you trust that it's coming. You trust yourself enough to be patient, to listen, to observe, and that trust builds momentum. That calm attracts clarity. That clarity builds consistency, and consistency creates results that chaos can't match. People will try to pull you into their chaos, into drama, into urgency, into panic, but you don't have to accept that invitation. You don't have to carry weight that isn't yours. You don't have to match their energy just to prove you care. Calm is not disengagement, it's intentional engagement. It's showing up with presence, with purpose, with control. It's walking into the storm and not letting it steal your center. It's handling pressure without becoming pressure. Most people don't need more effort, they need more clarity. They're not lacking hustle, they're lacking alignment. They're putting in hours but not aiming at anything. They're building success on shaky foundations and then wondering why it doesn't feel fulfilling. Calm is what helps you see clearly enough to ask, is this mine? Is this right? Is this necessary? Because the goal isn't to do more, the goal is to do what matters. And to know what matters, you need clarity. And to find clarity, you need calm. You don't get clarity by grinding in chaos. You get it by rising above the noise, by resetting your rhythm, by learning to be still even when the world is moving fast. Calm is a superpower. It doesn't come from the outside, it comes from within. And once you tap into that, once you master that stillness, once you find that inner quiet that cuts through the storm, you'll never move the same again. Because you won't be moved by chaos, you'll be moved by clarity.